Hi, thanks for stopping by to watch me, Leah, cook kosher. Today I'm going to show you how to make my fabulous babka, both chocolate and cinnamon walnut. These are big bakery favorites from the old days, and I'm going to show you how to do it at home. Before we roll out our babka, we're going to need to make the crumb topping and have that ready. So what we have in the bowl, another half a stick of margarine, sugar, and flour. And for this I recommend a hand beater or a pastry cutter because we want to make a real fine crumb for our topping. So we want to keep beating this, incorporating that flour into the margarine, and we don't want to make a fine paste or anything. We really want it to be a crumb topping. So you can see it's a real sandy kind of powder, and that's what we want. I'm just going to give this a couple more mixes, and I think we are good with that. Okay. All right, you see how that'll just shake right on top of that babka, and I know from my customers that there are some people that love a lot of this on top. Okay, so we're just going to set that aside until we're ready to use it. Now we're going to make the filling for the cinnamon walnut babka, and what we have is ground walnuts, brown sugar, white sugar, margarine, and cinnamon. Of course, if you want to use real dairy, go ahead, just make sure you use your dairy equipment. So I'm going to take my beaters on very low because this is a small bowl, and I'm just going to mix it. You can also use the food processor, but I don't want to drag that out. So we're going to just keep mixing until we incorporate the nuts and the margarine and the sugars and get a nice spreadable consistency, even though it will be chunky. Okay, so that will be our cinnamon walnut filling, and it's the same filling I use in my cinnamon walnut rugelach. The difference being for the rugelach, we definitely use the food processor and take that way down to a paste because the dough is much thinner. But that's it. That's all we need for the cinnamon walnut filling. So now we're ready to roll our babka dough. We're going to make our cinnamon walnut first. And so I've stretched out my dough because we're going to be making a long strip, and boy, in the bakery I make them really long, but here we are. We're just going to keep rolling, and again I don't have any flour down because I want the dough to stick to that surface. I'm going to keep going longer, and we're going to try to get a long strand, I don't know, about 24 inches or so. Now I'm going to pick it up, give it a little bit of a pull. I'm going to relax, and I'm going to put it back down. Let it rest a second, and then I'm going to keep going. To make a babka with all those swirls inside, we need a long, thin piece of dough. I was always the babka maker at work. I mean, that was kind of a lot to do on top of everything else I had, but I was always very particular about the babka. In the bakery, I'll make 2 strips about 6 feet long each and twist them together. But obviously here, even though I have a long counter, I do not need to eat 6 feet of babka. Okay, you can see some of the spots are getting thin. So I'm going to just focus a little bit on getting the edge rolled out. Okay, we're going to take our cinnamon babka filling, and I am going to just use my fingers, and I am going to slather that all over. It's loose enough. I like to use my fingers. All of that butter or margarine is just going to melt between those layers as it bakes. And yum, yum. Okay. I think that's enough. Now when we roll up, we're going to start with the edge closest to you. I'm going to lift the edge off the table, just giving it a little bit of a flick. And I'm going to pull it and press just to get my roll started. But as I do roll up, I am pulling. So some of that filling is just going to flatten out into those stretched areas. And I'm just going to keep rolling, rolling, rolling. And then you end up with this, long strand, and you can figure where the middle is. And I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut it in half. And then I like to take the end to the cut piece in the middle, side by side, and I'm going to twist. This is really simple. You just lift opposite sides and you cross it right at the middle, and then you just finish that two braided sort of rope trick we learned when we did the challah. And I know you watched the challah video, right? Or you wouldn't be watching this one. But there you go. That's our little babka. So I'm going to take my pan, put it down. It's already been sprayed. And I'm just going to go ahead and lift that into it. Fits perfectly. I've got a few twists going on. And then what I'm going to do is brush the top with egg wash. And I'm going to brush a nice layer right onto the top of that. And then I'm going to get my crumb topping, which I'm going to spread on quite liberally, and sprinkle that right on top. But because so many people have nut allergies, I like to go ahead and put ground walnuts also on the top, and that way there people know that there's probably nuts inside, and if they can't eat them, they'll stay away. So actually I'm just going to let this rest for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put it in the oven. I'm going to go very slowly because they're still warm. Oh my gosh. This is the cinnamon walnut. How gorgeous is that? Smells divine. These are for sure my absolute favorite.